Say grab a beverage.
Yeah, this is a happy hour after all. I've got the dogs running around, doors are life. Life is happening. Life
As
is
it should.
definitely happening as it should. Awesome. Well, looks like we've got about 30 seconds. Um, Amy said she doesn't see us yet.
I don't know if there's a delay. Can you do me a favor and go to...
Now she does.
Now she does?
Now she does. Jay was in the last one too. He's like peeking up.
He's like like in the corner with his eye.
Creeping in. Creeping in. All right, cool. So I am really, really glad that folks could join us today. This is only the second time we have done a Facebook Live happy hour, but it seems like in light of all of the things going on in the world around us, people could use a little levity, a little good news, and a few tools to help them really navigate this. And so, I talk a lot about resilience, about creating the right mindset, developing your skill set, and really taking time to reset. And I met Mo through a mutual coach, actually, someone that we both just adore. And after listening to him and what he does and how he does it, I just thought, I want to learn from him. And if I want to learn from him, I'm thinking you guys might too. So Mo, why don't you take just a second and introduce yourself and tell folks a little bit.
I'm excited to be here as well. So my name is Mo Brossette, and I teach people how to use fear as your greatest tool. I teach breathwork and meditation. I'm one of the directors of a nonprofit here in Dallas called the Adaptive Training Foundation, and we work with critically wounded veterans and civilians that have suffered from amputations, spinal cord injuries, Parkinson's disease, and stroke. And we have a program called Redefine that we take these adaptive athletes. We use the Bill Bowerman term, if you have a body, you're an athlete. So we have these adaptive athletes that we take through a 9-week training cycle called Redefine, and we help them to overcome all of those limiting beliefs that they may have been told by doctors and experts, like you'll never walk again. This is your new normal. You will always need assistance. And they use a lot of words like never, can't, and won't. My job with the foundation is helping these athletes overcome that mental barrier. So I teach them how to use breath work. I teach them how to use reframing and upgrading their language and self-talk. And I teach them how to use the fear of being told you'll never walk again, don't ever fall down, and all of these other things to get to use the fear. Don't get over it, but use it as a means to focus on what you can do to get right and overcome those limitations. And it's amazing. We've had some of our athletes that have had amputations that have been told you'll never walk again. And then one of our athletes, actually, his name's Keith Murphy, he's 51 years old, lost his leg in a motorcycle wreck at 51 years old, told you'll never walk again. 92 days later, did a 26-inch box jump. And then went on to do Spartan race, then went on to do the Para Spartan World Championships in Laughlin, Nevada with one of our adaptive teams. And that's just one example, but it's an example of what you can do when you surround yourself with the right type of people, with the right type of mindset. And it all comes back to connection with your breath and with your mindset, because we think we're all trapped right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. And you would think that doctors would be a little bit more optimistic in terms of, you got this, you can do this, you can make this happen. But it's pretty unfortunate that you're having to go back in and rewire some of that. I'm curious to know, when we met, you were talking about using fear as fuel and really
Yes.
not trying to I think right now, so many people are, at least, we've done a lot of training and development around resilience, and I've been dealing with a lot of our corporate clients. And one of the comments that I keep getting is, oh, I'm so glad to know I'm not the only one who feels this way. Like I thought I was the only one who felt super anxious and a little depressed and in a funk. I thought I was the only one who was going through it. And it's nice to know that I'm not alone. And I think everybody, we're in this constant threat state right now. Our brain doesn't like uncertainty. Our brain doesn't like anxiety. So we try to get away from it and we try to numb it. But I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about how you transform fear from something that you want to run from into the fuel that you can use to get better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And look, you hit the nail on the head there with, we all feel afraid. I mean, I get nervous, I get anxious. I do work for a nonprofit, but even that is up in the air right now with where we're at. And my other clients, with what I do with speaking, with what I do with working with individuals, it's all up in the air. So you should feel anxious. And that's the first thing I tell people is, listen, don't be ashamed to be afraid. We all feel fear. Fear is actually good. It's a survival mechanism. You should feel anxious. You should get stressed. It's what you do with that fear. It's what you do with the anxiety and the stress that matters. I have a good friend named Jacob Schick, who's a founder of a nonprofit here called 22 Kill. And he says the great quote that pain is inevitable. The suffering is optional. So we all are going to feel pain. We're all going to feel stress. You're not alone. We all feel it right now. However, what we do with this is critical. We're in a very vulnerable state right now, but we're also in a very creative state. We're in a place right now where we have an opportunity to create a better future than the one we had before. I mean, we talked about this offline. Our planet is healing. Skies are clear. Waters are running clean. Pollution is less. So when you feel afraid, oftentimes, especially with the fear, we think about all the things that could be. We're projecting this future that is uncertain. When what we should do is use the fear. And when I speak about fear, I've created this acronym. I have this shirt on, where we use our fear to focus. So when I feel afraid, instead of feeling bad about being afraid or getting stressed or anxious, the first thing I do is literally I stop and I breathe. And I just take myself through some diaphragmatic breathing, and I think, okay, what am I feeling right now? Why am I afraid? And I analyze it without judgment, without saying anything negative about myself, just literally analyzing why I'm afraid. Now, okay, what can I do right now in this situation? Is there something I can do to solve it? And if so, I'm going to do that. If not, what can I do to focus on making the next right step? Okay. And then the weird thing is, I'm going to get excited about that, because you talk a lot about resilience, right? I want to go into this resilience with gratitude. I want to go into this fear with gratitude. I'm grateful that I'm afraid, that I'm feeling the fear. I'm grateful that I have anxiety, because this is teaching me, this is giving me an opportunity to learn a better way to do something, or a different way to do something that's going to elevate me as a human, that's going to elevate me in my business, as a husband, as a father, as whatever the situation is for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it creates awareness. Like, and again, it's not absent of the fear. It is in the face of fear. Like with our athletes, if you tell us that you're afraid of falling, we're going to make you fall. Because if we don't show you that, hey, listen, we understand that this is a challenge, but if we don't make you fall and learn how to do it right, learn how to fall, learn how to get back up, you're never going to reach your full potential, because every step you take, you're going to be focused on not falling.
Yeah. And I think failure is like nothing more than a way to think about success. Success is not a lack of failure. It's learning from it, because it's a normal part of it.
Oh,
And one of the things that, I've struggled with myself, and I know a lot of people do, is when you feel the discomfort, when you feel the anxiety, when you feel the fear, our tendency is, what can I do to make it go away? Can I eat something? Can I drink something? Can I, how do I escape it? And there's nothing wrong, I think, with wanting to get away from it. That's a normal feeling. But when you realize that it is fear, when you figure out that all of those feelings are anxiety, what is diaphragmatic breathing? I haven't even really heard that term before, and I'm curious to know what it is. And then we got a question from, and please chat in your questions and your comments, because we want to hear from you. And Bruce asked, what's the number one point on resilience and dealing with fear? So I guess we can kind of tie these together. You talked about breathing once you realize it's happening. And I think most of us take it for granted because we all breathe. But how do you do it right?
So I'm going to show you. I'm going to turn the camera sideways and show you what I'm talking about. So when I say diaphragmatic breathing, the way we breathe and the way we should breathe is, so if my hands on my belly here, right? Other hands on my chest. When I breathe
You should
in,
take off your shirt so we can see you better. I think
right?
that would help. Yeah.
Would it?
I think so. I think
when
so.
I breathe in, my stomach should go out. And then when I breathe out, my stomach should go in. So it's breathing in through the nose and then out through the nose. And it's that motion. See my hand? It's not this. What we typically do is we breathe short through our chest. So most of us, when we inhale, we breathe in and our chest rises. And when we exhale, our chest drops.
Right.
This is sympathetic nervous system breathing. That's fight or flight. Diaphragmatic breathing is breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out.
And what does that do other than get more oxygen? Because it's so counterintuitive. I always tell people, you know, when you're born and you see these little babies with these nasty distended tummies,
Mhm.
like they're actually breathing correctly.
Yeah.
And we do it wrong as we get older. But what is that doing physiologically?
So physiologically, that's stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system. So your parasympathetic nervous system is your rest and digest nervous system. So
Right.
that is letting the body, everything know that it's okay. We're not in a state of fight or flight, run for your life, a bear's chasing me in the woods. You know, and you hit it again. We all breathe this way. If you watch your children breathe, if you watch your spouse breathe when they're taking a nap or sleeping, that is how we breathe. However, the first time, and this is what I tell people when I talk about this and when I teach this, the first time, and that another little girl or someone made mention of you and your body image and your shape when you were around 8 years old, you stopped breathing that way. And then it
Yes,
became gross, right?
yes,
Then
because
it became,
then we're like, I don't want to show my Buddha belly. Like, I
yeah,
mean,
yep.
it's,
The second that happened, hey,
I
look,
think
even for me,
you probably
I
have a
came,
six pack. So like, it
well,
doesn't, for you, it's
yeah,
probably no big deal. Like, I don't know if I want to like distend in front of people, but I definitely want to be able to figure out how to do that when I'm meditating and
absolutely. What
relaxed.
and I can take you through it in a second. It's very simple. But listen, my background is in health and fitness. I was a personal trainer for 18 years. And same thing, like you can't walk around the gym with a distended belly, right? So it's even if you just want to suck it in and it's terrible. I'm an endurance athlete. So try running an Ironman and breathing like this. It can't happen. So I had
I
to
tried
teach
to jog
myself.
this morning, and I got to tell you, Mo, I have two titanium pins in my left foot. Jimmy Buffett concert coconut bra. Long story, but it's also the foot that I broke when I fell down the stairs in
Yeah,
Vegas when I had my eye surgery and my facial paralysis and all that stuff. And so I've always just said I'm not supposed to run. I'm not supposed to run. And this morning, you know, I haven't been able to swim, which is usually my thing. And so I went for a walk, a
hmm,
walk jog this morning, and I caught myself just getting so like exhausted so quickly. And I thought there's
hmm.
got to be a better way to do this. Is that how you breathe when you're running too?
Absolutely. Yes. And it'll be a bit shorter, but that's a great dictator of how fast you should or shouldn't be running is being able to control the breath and letting the breath be the guide of when you walk and when you run. And it's just going to take a while because you don't walk and you don't run. So you're using different muscles in a different pattern in a different way. So you have to allow yourself to understand that wherever you are right now is exactly where you should be and just build from that as far as that goes. You know, but that diaphragmatic breathing, that is the key to everything. And I tell people as well, you know, the very first thing you did when you came into this world and the very last thing you will ever do is take a deep breath through your diaphragm. And that's it. Somewhere along the middle, we lose that. And it's usually that moment again where we were made aware that we had a Buddha belly or somebody poked at your stomach, right? When you were 7 or 8 years old. So
Or 40,
that,
or 44, whatever.
yeah. Yeah, 34, 44, you're aware, whatever it is. But yeah, and it's freeing when you can do that. So the practice is what I teach people with the first step in breathing is when you first wake up, you don't even have to get out of bed. Just lay still. Put your hands on your belly button and just breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, and then repeat that process. It's called box breathing. So, because when we wake up and we wake up because we get a bit hypoglycemic, our blood sugar gets low, we get into a sympathetic high cortisol state, and the body's like, hey, wake up, we need food. Let's go forage. So, if we wake up and we're stressed, and then we hit the snooze button, and then we wake up finally, then we go pound a bunch of caffeine and coffee, we're just we're just burning the candle at both ends and in the middle of our hormones of cortisol and adrenaline. So when you can wake up and you start the day with diaphragmatic box breathing and with some intention setting and gratitude, you can begin the day in a parasympathetic state. And then when you become fearful, when you notice the anxiety kick in, the first thing you do is you just be aware of it. Don't change it. And you said this before, like we want to stop the fear. Don't stop the fear. Learn how to go, oh God, I'm scared right now. and this is okay. So I'm just going to breathe. I know what I can do right now. I can breathe and go into that diaphragmatic box breathing and do it for 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Wow. I talk about take 5, which I did last week, which is, inhale 4 or 5 seconds, hold it, and then exhale and do that while tracing your hand. But you're saying do that for 5 minutes?
Yeah, if you can do it for 5 minutes a day, twice
Okay.
a day, that will make a huge you'll receive a lot of benefit from that. Yeah, and just do like what I encourage people to do as well is like obviously we don't all have time usually to take 5 minutes to breathe. So if you get a phone call, if you get an email, if you see something on social media or the news that sparks that fear or anxiety, just do that. Take 5 box breaths or just inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale,
It's
slow and
funny,
relaxed.
even though I'm trying to take deep breaths, I still was doing it from my chest.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I think
it's
we're so trained.
Yeah, and it's a learned process. You taught yourself how to breathe through your chest, and it's literally like it's learning to walk again because you've created a neurological firing pattern of breathing short through your chest. So it's going to take a little bit, and that's where the awareness comes in. So when you can do it in the morning, and then if you do it, what I challenge, like I'm working with a group of hockey kids right now, a local group, and they're all goalies, and they're ranging from the age of 8 to 14. And it's awesome. So I get on a Zoom call with them twice a week, and I'm coaching them through mindset, and I'm coaching these little kids how to do belly box breathing, and I'm having them journal every
Tell me
day.
the box one more time.
So the
So,
box, you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. That
okay,
makes the box. Yep, yep, yep.
perfect.
It's so cute watching these little kids because they'll send me their journals before we do our Zoom call, and I get to see like what they're grateful for, the challenges they get to face today, and all these things. I'm like, man, this is amazing because I'm helping to teach these kids before life really happens
Back
how to
when they
handle.
back when they still had dreams that hadn't been crushed yet. So you talked about like mindset with veterans who have, I mean, lost limbs or really serious diseases or, I mean, big challenges. How do you even start with that? Tell me a little bit more about mindset and what you mean by that and how you develop it purposefully.
Yeah, the thing with working, especially with the adapted population, and I do the same thing when I walk into companies and talk to CEOs and executives. It's all the same thing. It's helping you understand that you're already probably meditating. The definition of mindfulness, mindful meditation, is paying attention to a particular thing on purpose in the present moment without judgment while breathing. So, and I love to give the example when we take people around Adaptive Training Foundation, and I take them to my space where I do the meditation and mindfulness, and I share with them, I want you to imagine having a group of 15 salty veterans that have all been blown up and car wrecks and just are mad, and I'm gonna say, hey guys, let's sit down and meditate. Which of these fingers do you think they're ready to show me?
Read
Right?
between the lines, Mo.
Exactly. But when I say, hey, so I know all of you love to shoot your weapon, right? Like, yeah, like we love to go to the range. Okay, cool. Well, when you're laying down and you're aiming at the target and you're focused on the bullseye and you're breathing, looking through the scope, what do you think you're doing? You're meditating. You're like,
Uh-huh.
oh, I'm doing it already. Like, yes, that is meditation. Listen, eating food can be meditation. Washing dishes can be meditation. Sex is meditation because you should be only paying attention to one thing. All these things are mindful meditation. So we're we're
I'm just going to leave that one alone because I need another cocktail before I go. But
so and
yeah,
it's true because it breaks down that barrier of like I don't think I can do this. I guarantee you're already doing it. It's so easy.
how do you make doing dishes a meditation?
Well, it's funny. My meditation teacher taught me this because she's from Southern California, and she used to live in a house with 4 other people, and her only time to do things to like get in stillness was when she was washing dishes. And she was like, I became the best damn dishwasher on the planet because I can just sit there and breathe and just don't rush, just like wash the dishes and just look at it and go, I'm gonna get this corner and just breathe and have some fun with it. And that literally can become a meditation practice. One of the easiest things I do with people though is do it when you eat, and you can practice gratitude with that as well. So here's my challenge for everybody watching right now: the next meal you eat, whatever you put in your mouth, I want you to don't talk, don't have TV or anything like that on. Take a bite of whatever it is that you're eating. Put your fork or spoon down, and I want you just to chew, and I want you to think about that food, and I want you to think about the origin of it. I want you to think about, if it's a plant, the farmer that grew it, the person that transported it from the ground to the factory, the person that took it from the factory to the grocery store, the person that put it on the shelf. And I want you to thank each person and each individual. And I want you to watch how that changes the flavor of what you eat.
Well, how am I supposed to watch Tiger King and Joe Exotic if, um, if I'm trying to go through all those steps? That's a lot. No, kidding.
That show is amazing.
And I found out today they came out with a new follow-up episode, which I'm dying to watch because
No, I heard that's false. That's
what?
false because that's the other guy, that other creepy guy that took over the zoo that everybody knows is bald but still wears the bandana and the hat. That come on, man. That he put out, because I looked it up too, because I was really excited about it. I'm like, there's gonna be another episode. So I Googled it, and this guy said that yes, we're in talks with all this and there's gonna be a new episode, but no one's confirmed it yet. So I don't know. Who knows?
Wow, that just
Yeah.
changes everything for the weekend. Well, we had a question, and please keep chatting in your questions. Really want to hear about you. Christy said, well, damn, I better have an actual meal then. Yeah, when I think about that cheeseburger and where that cow came from, I'm grateful for that cow.
Yeah.
So Amy Walker said, do you have any guidance on training for a marathon or a Ragnar? I don't even know what that is. She started running again as a way to burn anxious energy. What's a Ragnar?
Ragnar is a relay race, and they do them across the country. Some Ragnars are on the road, some are on the trails, but essentially it's like I think it's a distance race where like one person, well, it's like I might run 8 mile loop, and then I'll tag you, and then you'll run a different loop, then we tag each other. So it's kind of like a leapfrog, and it's really fun. But
Really
Amy, I would tell, yeah.
we have different definitions of fun. I'm trying to think of running as fun. I really am. I'm working on my mindset. How do I do that? How do you
Well,
take exercise or something that you don't really naturally want to go do and make it?
Because we think we have to be great at it when we start. We don't allow ourselves to be a beginner, and we don't allow ourselves just to be where we are. And again, like when I take it back to the adaptive athletes, right? If I have as someone that has an amputation or is a spinal cord injury, and they used to be this elite special forces operator in the military, or they were just a badass human before, and now they're in a wheelchair, lost their leg. We expect ourselves to be able to operate up here, but just allow yourself to be a beginner. And like for you, just start walking. Walk for 30 minutes, and that's it. And then once you can walk for 30 minutes 3 days a week, then jog for a minute, and then walk for 4, and then do that for 30 minutes. You slowly build up. So Amy, doing the same thing. Like right now, if you're stressed out and you're running because you're stressed, number one, make sure that you're running slow. Do not run in a fasted state, because that's only going to exacerbate the stress. And then just do the same thing. I'm going to encourage you to do a run walk protocol. So run, and when I say run, I mean just a light jog for 3 to 4 minutes, and do it in 5-minute segments. So if I jog for 3 minutes, I'm going to walk for 2, and then jog for 3, walk for 2. Or you can do it for 4 minutes and then 1 minute. And then once your fitness builds up, you can increase that time running to time walking. But again, it's all mindset.
And so I talk a lot about exercise as a way to take care of yourself, because it literally changes your brain. And I feel sometimes like a hypocrite. I mean, I do exercise because, I was diagnosed with clinical depression when I was 19. And my grandmother always used to say, Annie, if enough people tell you you're tired, maybe it's time to lay down. She also used to say, if you act like an ass, don't be surprised if people try to ride you. But that's a conversation for next week. But enough people told me, you got to take time to exercise. Your brain needs it. What does that do to your brain?
So when you exercise, when you meditate, when those two things help to release endorphins, right? Those release the feel-good hormones. That also releases creativity. So when you can move, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have, obviously we can't go to the gym, but any form of exercise, whether it's walking, yoga, anything like that, if you can just get up and move, that is going to help the body release that feel-good hormone of endorphins, right? So that's right now, it's very critical. We need to be able to do that on a daily basis. And another part of what I talk about is making sure that we're moving on a daily basis as well.
So what other tips or strategies or tools or advice or guidance that can you give that you think would help people kind of navigate through some of this turbulence that we're having right now?
Yeah. So one of the things I talked about the other day, and I talk about this, I put these out on my YouTube channel a couple of times a week, is especially when we heard that the stay at home is extended till May 20th. We heard a lot of people say, I'm really feeling isolated. I'm feeling stuck. I'm feeling trapped. And I tell people that the only place that you are stuck, isolated, and trapped is between your ears.
Wow,
That is
that's
it.
powerful.
It is, and it's the truth. You can go outside. You can go in a different room. If you have a home, you can go in the front yard. You can go in the backyard. You can go in the garage. We all want to stay home until we're told we can't leave,
Right, exactly.
right?
And it's funny because as a speaker, we both travel a lot, and so I was on a plane 3 or 4 days a week
Mhm.
for the last 6 months before all of this stuff happened, and I kept saying, I just need a break. I just need
Yeah,
a break. I'm so tired. I just want a break. And then I got a break, and I'm like, well, I don't want a break. I
yeah,
need to be busy. I need to go make money. I need to go do all these things. And
yeah.
if somebody had told us a few months ago that we'd have a chance to like stop and reevaluate, we would have. I think a lot of people welcomed it because we get in this frantic
Hmm.
life all the time, and I think it's such a unique opportunity to shift our perspective, don't you?
It 100% is, and that's the thing is when I tell you, and like if you have children, I don't have children, but if you have a child or even other people, the second I say, "Hey, don't touch this," what's the first thing you're going to want to do? You're going to want to touch that, right? So the second that we heard you can't go to the store, you can't go you can't go to restaurants, you can't do this, we all wanted to go do these things.
Right.
And that is the language part of the fear is we focus on all the things, these are called negations. We focus on what can't happen and what isn't possible. So that's the saying can't, won't, don't, shouldn't, couldn't, and using the word but. And again, that's how we get our athletes through those limiting beliefs. And we have to do the same thing. What can you do in this situation? You're not isolated. You're not trapped. You're not stuck. When you focus on all the things that you are able to do right now, that you can create, that you can co create, that you can get in touch with people on different levels, the doors of possibility are endless of what you can do right now with your creation. So that is what you focus on, not all the things we're not able to do.
So if your mindset, I mean, for example, I heard when we were offline talking, one of the things you said is instead of saying I have to go to do this, I have
Yes.
to get on a plane, it's I get to go do this.
Yeah.
What do you do if you can't because I've read a lot about mindset and shifting your belief system, and Dr. David Burns wrote a book called Feeling Good, and
Hmm.
it's really how to identify self-limiting beliefs. It's an old book, but how do you identify those self-limiting beliefs? How do you challenge them, and how do you reframe them? Cognitive behavioral therapy 101 basically. But how do you, if you don't necessarily believe that, like if you're saying I get to go run and you don't really want to go do that, how do you trick your brain into actually believing that you get to and feel good
Yeah.
about
Well, it's when it comes to running and stuff like that, you have to look at the reason. What's the reason behind the reason? Why are you going to go run? Is there something else you can do? And again, allowing yourself to number one be where you are with the fitness. But when it comes to the language of get to versus have to, it goes down into the subconscious. So just like when I mentioned about the comment about your stomach, right? Ever since we could understand the words have to and get to, we associated them with either good or bad. You have to do your homework. You have to get up on time. You have to eat your vegetables. You have to do this. You have to do that. These are all associated with things we really didn't want to do when we were little. However, you get to go to your friend's house. You get to have dessert. We get to go to the store today. You get to go on vacation. So at the subconscious level, the second you hear the words get to, you're like, oh, okay, right? So when you can say that, I get to go, because I know we mentioned as well, you had someone that said, hey, I work all the time. I'm in the trenches. Okay, and this is you get to go do this. You get to go to a job that pays your bills right now. You get to serve other people. What do you get to do in this situation, right? I get to stay in a home that has air conditioning in the summer, that has heat in the winter, that has food in the refrigerator, that has lights on the above. I get to stay in this house that has a bed. When you can start thinking from it in that in that mindset, with that type of language, look at
Yeah.
all the things that we have, and look at look at the opportunities that are in front of you. And that simple reframing from have to get to can change your entire perspective and shift it to give you gratitude, so that then you can then build resilience through that process.
Wow. And, I've read studies about prisoners of war and Holocaust survivors who said that, the only thing you can control in those situations is your mind. And you have to start thinking about what you're grateful for, even in the crappiest situations. There's usually, well, not usually, there's always something to be grateful for. And, in 2014, I told you I had a tumor in my face and my face was paralyzed. And I kept saying, if only I could smile again, I'll never sweat the small stuff. If only I could recover from this, I'll never complain about the stupid shit anymore. I'll just really focus on what I can do to move forward. And it wasn't 6 months before I was sweating the small stuff and taking my smile for granted and not living that. Can you talk more about gratitude and what that looks like and how you practice it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things, especially when you have something like that. And when I talk about gratitude, I love to talk about gratitude and resilience through the concept of impermanence. Nothing lasts forever. As long as we're alive, nothing lasts forever. It's going to come to an end. And when I speak to people about this, I say, how many of you have ever survived the very worst thing that's ever happened to you?
Oh my God, that's how I start every speech.
Yes, literally, right? Every one of us has. But in the moment, we're like, oh my God, how am I ever going to deal with this?
Yeah.
The opportunity, that's what you have to look at it as. So last year, I was in a very good physical shape. I did a 50-mile ultra marathon. I was doing really well. I was strong. I was fast. I went on a ski trip with our Adaptive Training Foundation and tore my ACL. And I was right at the peak of my race season, or right at the beginning. So in a second, all that fitness that I built up for the year was gone. The first thing that went through my mind was, okay, I can cycle, I can swim, I can work on my core, I can work on upper body, I can still do all these things. And I started working on that mind shift. I was grateful that I was able to still do these things and work on other aspects of my fitness. So when whatever you're going through, understand, number one, that is not going to last forever, right? Even if it's physical pain, it is going to stop. But right now, in this mental turmoil that we're all in, this is going to end. We have overcome every major obstacle that we've faced as a human race and species. We've overcome 2 world wars. We've overcome a flu pandemic in the early 20th century. We've overcome all these different things, and we've come out of the other side stronger. Whenever you are faced with a trial, a pain, a stress, or fear, what can you be grateful for? The opportunity to sit in that and learn. Because when you come out of the other side, not if, but when you come out of the other side, you're going to be stronger because of it. Write down your fears. Write down what you did to get past that fear. Write down what you did to use that anxiety to focus, right? And look back at it. So when it happens again, you can go, oh shit, I already did this once.
Yeah.
Here's what I did, right?
Right.
And use that. Use it as your framework and your blueprint of how you're gonna do it again when it happens to you the next time.
I love that. It's a reminder of your, kind of your path and what you did. And it's a good reminder to bring you back to it when
Yes.
you are in that kind of situation. It's funny because when I was going through all of that with my face, I made this big vision board with pictures that I cut out. And I tell people to do this all the time. When you can visualize it, your brain works backward to try to figure out how to achieve it. And so I had pictures of a smile and, teeth, because I couldn't see all my teeth in it. And it was one of those things where I just stared at it. And it didn't even occur to me that right now is the perfect time to make a dream board or a vision board, to really think about priorities and what you want to do differently and what you want your new reality to look like, because I think we're going to get to a point where it's before the virus and after the virus.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's going to be positives that come out of it and new ways to do things. And there's going to be lots of negative things, right? But it will be different.
Yeah.
And if we're stuck in the way we've always done it, it's going to be an uphill battle because we'll resist everything.
Mm-hmm. And I'll add to that, the difference that it's going to be for you is up to you. You know, we hear 100%. Look, we hear, I've heard a lot over the last couple of weeks as well, as like things are never going to be the same. It's never going to be the way it was. Why should it be? Aren't we supposed to evolve? Aren't we supposed to do things differently? How about let's look at this as an opportunity to do things a little bit better, to be kinder to our planet, the one that's healing right now. We were talking about, you know, a lot of companies are going virtual and doing more virtual training and working. How about if we made that part of the norm, not staying at home every day with all your kids and your spouse, but what if we could do things a little bit different so that we could ease some of our stress, so we could ease some of the anxiety, and we could create this new way of being and look at it in this way of like, wow, look at what I went through, man. Like, look at what we did. And we came out of this other side of this thing and we're so much better because of it, not in spite of it.
Right.
That's the language thing as well.
I was telling you before we jumped on that my neighbor has 9 children. And I feel anytime I say that, I want to do the Ferris Bueller's Day Off 9 times. She did that 9 times. And I know people are like struggling to do stuff with their kids and keep it all together. But if you would have gone back 3 months, people would have said, I just want more time with my family. I just want more time in my day. And I think it's also a way to look at like how overscheduled we all are. You know, we're in meetings back to back every single day. Our kids are in 20 different activities because we think that's what good parents do. And we want them to have a fulfilling life. You know, how do you reframe this so that when we do go back to normal, Dave Hollis, Rachel Hollis's husband, and I love that you have a woman where you're like, this person's husband. He said, you know, in our rush to go back to normal, it's important to remember what we want to rush back to, what parts of normal we want to rush back to, because there's so many things we bitch and complain about that don't have to go back. And it's really fascinating to me how our entire mindset shifts when we look at the news and we see all of the pain and the suffering and the economy and all of that kind of stuff. It's easy to forget that we have that choice.
Absolutely. It is. It is. We do have the choice. You control what you can and you let the rest go, right? It's like projecting into the future. I don't know what's going to happen to me at 5 o'clock today. What I do know is what I'm doing right now, and I can control this. You know, it's just like being stuck in traffic. Are you really stuck in traffic? Or do you have an opportunity to sit in your car and listen to a book and learn, or call your mom, or call your husband, or talk to your kids? Now, if I had 9 kids at my house right now, I don't know either.
Lose my mind.
But
however,
yeah,
I would have
yeah.
I don't even want to say what I would have done to those poor children by now.
Yeah.
So Jessica tuned in or chatted, and she wants to know, what is your playlist when you work out? I think everybody's like looking at your muscles and your tats and everything and go, all right, how do we get like Mo?
My playlist when I work out it depends. It's either something like I might be Red Hot Chili Peppers, or it's usually some type of electronic, like a depending what I'm doing, like a dubstep, or like if I'm running, it's a smooth beat, steady tempo. Actually, if I'm running, I don't listen to music at all. I listen to my pace and my breathing. But workouts, it's something that's makes me want to run through a wall. It just depends.
Andy said, agree with this is a time to find out what's important in life. Better to do with the extra time unless you have 9 children. I saw a meme yesterday on Facebook. It said, it was a woman talking to her husband. She said, could you please blink more quietly? And, I think everybody is trying to figure out this new normal. And you were talking about how you coach CEOs and executives, and share with everybody what you were saying about the challenges they're going through.
Yeah, it's really, because a lot of people aren't home all the time, and a lot of people right now are trying to not get divorced, because it's like you're never at home. You're like, man, I just wish I had more time. And now you have all that time, and you're realizing like, wait, who is this person that I'm in this room with all day? You know what I mean? And it's just, but that is where we have to that is where we get to practice our patience, and that is where we get to realize like, what am I doing right now with myself, with my actions, with my intentions? And what happens is we want to control so many things, and we want to try to control the people that are around our space. And the only thing you're ever able to control is your responses to those situations. So, it's taking into account like, this is another person. They have their opinions, they have their actions, they have their mannerisms, they have all these little unique things that make them them, and that is perfect. How you interpret that is up to you. It's how you receive that information. So, before we react negatively to the way someone's their voice tone, a facial expression, a body, a gesture, step back and think of how you're receiving that. What happened 5 minutes before? Were you on a phone call? Were you reading an email that may have got you a little bit riled up, and now you're projecting that on the person that's in the room with you? So it's about being aware of your behavioral patterns and taking a second and going, okay, and then having a response to it instead of a reaction.
Yeah, I think this sounds so much like emotional intelligence. It's really being self-aware and being able to self-regulate and navigate that. I'm curious to know, hi Sandra, I'm curious to know what other questions you guys have, because this is awesome. I'm learning so much. Do you have any other like meditations or anything else that we should be practicing?
Yeah, so I call it a podcast. I've created a short series of meditations where I offer guided meditations it's on Stitcher. So it's a podcast, but it's just short meditations. And I do meditations on gratitude, on resilience, on facing fears and things like that, just to help people really get ready for whatever situation you're going through. This is a critical piece to all the stuff that I'm talking about. Is you have to, number one, tap into your breath, and you have to start some sort of mindfulness practice. Again, whether it's just paying attention to what you're eating when you have dinner, lunch, or breakfast, whether it's folding the laundry, doing the dishes, something like that. Practice meditation and understand that it's a muscle, just like anything else, the mind muscle. So when you first start, and I love to share this example because I teach meditation, but when I first started, I was at a conference in Austin, and everyone was talking about meditation. And I was like, well, shit, I gotta start doing this. So I'm in my hotel room, and I'm laying down, and my now ex-wife is in the shower, and I've got my feet up a wall. I'm like, I'm gonna listen to a meditation. I'm gonna do it for 5 minutes. So I lay down and I start to close my eyes and breathe. And I'm like, the hell am I supposed to be thinking about? What time? I'm kind of hungry. Is she done? What time is she gonna get done? And about 45 seconds in, I had 80 thoughts come through my mind.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't know what to do. So, and so I stopped. I got frustrated, and I went. And so there was a panel talking about meditation that day, and they were like, "Anybody have any questions?" Yep. So, and I explained to them what happened. They all chuckled. They're like, "That's normal." All you're doing in meditation, as you learn to do this, is you are learning to increase the space between thoughts.
Yep.
So they're going to come like this initially, then they're going to come like this, and then they're going to come like this. So whenever you have a thought, whenever you're meditating, don't go, well, damn. Just recognize and go, oh, okay, laundry tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let it go.
It's
and then return back to your breath.
Because it's funny, Anne Bruce is on here, and love you, Anne Bruce. And she, when we met, she's like, you need to breathe, you need to meditate. And I'm like, enough with people telling me to meditate. It's that Grammy analogy again. Enough people tell you you're tired. So I sat in the bedroom and I was quiet, and I tried to focus on my breath and what are we going to have for dinner? And why does my leg itch? And do I have a rash? And all these things started, like coming up to my mind. And what's interesting is that Buddhist monks call it your monkey mind. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I felt like I was failing at it. And my husband, Jay, is like, oh, of course you're a perfectionist. Unless you can be the best meditator ever, you're going to want to meditate. But what I learned is that means it's working. It's brain training. So anytime you're able to catch your mind and bring it back, you're actually increasing your ability to direct your attention where you want it to go.
Yeah.
so that when you do have things like this, you're less likely to hit the panic button.
Yeah. Well, and here's a great way to start is listening to a guided meditation.
Yep.
So you
I
can listen to the
downloaded
guided
that.
meditations. Yeah. Like the ones that I have, the ones I love Insight Timer. It's a great app to use. And all you need to do is just listen to the person speak without any goal whatsoever. Just breathe in through your nose and out through your nose and listen to their voice. And when the monkey mind kicks in and you think about the list, go, oh, okay, cool. Back to the voice. And what you'll notice, because man, I am so all over the place with ADD and like squirrel.
Yeah.
But what
Yeah.
I've noticed is, as I practice this, it gets so much better. And you'll have days where you might wake up tired, you're exhausted, you had a busy week, and it's a bit more challenging. Let it be that way, and just take it for what it is, and just like give into that moment, and just understand that okay, I'm just going to lay here and breathe, and whatever I can listen to, I'm going to listen to. And I'm going to do it for 5 minutes and then go about your day.
And I think it's the part of mindfulness that is hard for so many people, me as well, is, when you have a thought, when you do get distracted, we beat ourselves up, we judge it. Like, I shouldn't be thinking that way. What is wrong with me? Why can't I just sit still for a few minutes?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the antithesis of what we're trying to do. It's like you said, it's not good or bad. It's just information. Your
Yeah.
body's just telling you stuff, and you get to choose whether you listen to it and what you do with it. My friend Kat is on here, and she said, I don't have time for meditation. I always tell people, I heard an interview with, I think her name was Sharon Salzberg, but she's a meditation expert. And she said 9 minutes a day is enough to change your brain. And I'll tell Kat and I'll tell my friends, if you don't have 9 minutes a day to meditate, you should be meditating for 20 minutes a day. Yeah.
That's what the second people tell me that is, that's more the reason why you need to. And I can guarantee you, Kat, I can find 20 minutes that you can meditate. If you drive to the office, that's however long you can meditate with your eyes open. But I guarantee you, I can find you 20 minutes a day to meditate in various ways, shapes, and forms. And it's really that simple. Again, if you make a meal, focus on what you're making. Just breathe and focus on what you're doing. You're doing meditation. When you eat, I know you do that at least 3 times a day. That can be meditation. Anything like that can be meditation. And again, it doesn't have to be a lot. It can be a minute. You can do it for 1 minute. That is meditation. So it's
that's important, right? Because I think people think, if I'm not sitting there and everything else is quiet and everything is still, then I must not be meditating. And I love that you're saying it doesn't matter where you're doing it, if it's for a minute or if it's for 4 minutes. It can be doing anything where you are paying attention to what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, if again, like I'm sitting in my living room, and if I'm sitting here watching, and say I'm watching TV, and I look down at this ottoman that's right here in front of me, I can just look at this ottoman and breathe and look at the stripes that are in it, look at the white stripes, the black stripes, the pattern. I'm meditating. Walking is meditation. If I walk outside and I just breathe, not listen to music, and I look at the trees and I look at the leaves, and then I look at the branches, and I look at the grass, I'm doing a mindfulness practice because I'm paying attention to something in the present moment without judgment, on purpose. That is meditation. And when you do that, the brain recognizes that. Then when you sit, you can start to do that for longer periods of time. I guarantee I couldn't do it for 30 seconds. Now I can do it a lot longer.
Right.
So it's a practice.
Andy asked, is there a specific amount of time? And I told you that in that interview, I heard it was 9 minutes a day. But do you have any other research or information on, like, how often, how long you should meditate to change your brain?
Yeah, it's 9 to 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week will change your brain. And again, Andy, you can split that up into chunks. You can do a 5-minute meditation in the morning. You can do a 5-minute meditation in the afternoon, and that's 10 minutes. A great way to do it too. And when I first learned this, I would do it in the morning, and then I would fall asleep to it. I mean, I'm not a fan of Bluetooth, but what I do is, and I can't tell you, I've never slept through the night until I did that. So I would just put my Bluetooth headphones on, again, even though I'm not a fan of that, but I would do that and just go to sleep. So because the subconscious still can hear. And
Yeah.
if I just close my eyes when I'm going to sleep anyway, and I practice breathing, I'm out. And
It's
it
funny
happens.
you say that because that's what I started doing to go to sleep every night. My mind, runs around. I should have said this, and why didn't I get that done? And just the whole thing of I can't. I'm made a bad decision with my kids, and
Mm-hmm.
what is wrong with me? And we have all this critical self-talk, and so for me, I learned that I get so bored paying attention to my breath that I eventually fall asleep because it's just boring. Right.
Yeah.
And so for me, and I do a body scan. Do you ever do that where you imagine like a light kind of going over your whole body, slowly, progressively relaxing it one step at a time?
I've done that before. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to keep you forever, but I just love talking to you. And I think you have so much insight. Let's see. How do you help someone that desperately should meditate due to depression and isolation, but they're older and they don't see the importance or the help it could give them? And oh my gosh, I hear so many people say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can if the old dog wants to learn.
Absolutely.
What do you do with someone who's resistant?
Yeah, it's understanding that I don't mean this to be harsh. This is a choice. If you want to make the change, you can make the change. I'm happy to help you make the change. You can. The brain is there's a concept called neuroplasticity, and the brain is very malleable. You can learn new patterns, new thinkings, new behaviors, new ways well into your 90s. We have athletes that come, and I say athletes, just humans that come through Adaptive Training Foundation in their 60s that make changes, in their mindset, that make changes in their bodies and in their and in their way of being. So if you want to change, we can get you there. It's in your mind. Does this mean it's going to be easy at first? Hell no. Expect the struggle. Expect it to be challenging. But in that challenge, every time it is hard, I want you to go, thank you, because this is making me better. This is giving me an opportunity to face this thing and learn how to do this, right? So if you want to change, think about what you want, not what you don't want. I do want to get better. I do want to feel better. This is going to help me. And the more you do it, and I think you talked about this. It's just like if you look in the mirror and you say, I love you every day, right? You say it enough, you're going to believe it. So the more you practice this, the more you're going to be able to do it, the better you're going to become at it, and the easier it's going to get. Man, I'm telling you, I've taken some people that were just not wanting to do this whole breath and meditation thing, and 9 weeks later, they were a whole different human being because of it. And I have video evidence of one of our athletes, and I'm not making any medical claims here whatsoever. However, one of our athletes, 61 years old, South African Special Forces guy, was just this hard son of a bitch, came in and didn't want to do any of this stuff. He had Parkinson's disease, couldn't walk across the floor, couldn't speak because his Parkinson's was so bad. 6.5 weeks after we started this whole process, within a 40-second time period, we could get his tremors to stop.
Wow.
So, because he was so mad at it. He was so mad that he has Parkinson's. He was so mad at the situation. He was trying to create more pain. And once he stopped resisting it and understood that what he could control was his breath and his mind, and we started working with visualizations on specific time periods, he was able to stop it. Now, did it go away permanently? No. However, what he is able to do, we have another athlete that does the same thing, who has Parkinson's, who will pick up a basketball. And the second this man picks up a basketball, it goes away.
So let me ask you this, because I know, mental health it's kind of become my purpose, really being an advocate for mental health, especially for kids who struggle so much. And so I don't want to take away the need for medication and therapy because, like I always say, I'm on everything but roller skates, and I think everybody should have a therapist or a coach. But how do you do this if it's from a place? Let's use depression, for example, because when people go through a depression, it feels like a hole. I don't think people who have never experienced it can fully understand its weight. It's not just sad. It's not just I'm sad about something. It's hopeless. It's overwhelming. It's like this hole that you're trying to dig out of while the dirt is filling in. How do you use this to get out of that?
understand that that feeling is not going to go away right away. And I know exactly what you mean, man. Oh God, as you're talking about that, I mean, there have been a couple of times where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to drive my truck off to the left here and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like I've been there. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've had panic attacks where I've had to pull over and just like shaking uncontrollably, like not knowing what in the hell I'm going to do next.
Right.
And what I've learned through that experience, when people go through that is a state of being that you're just in. However, when you can learn to just not try to fix it, but just sit and breathe and let it be what it is, and then start creating affirmations, start creating some sort of language to yourself that you're safe. I am safe, and just repeat that. That's one word, one phrase. I am safe. I am safe. I am safe. Breathe. Look at yourself. That is the start, because depression is hard. Anxiety attacks are hard. You can work through those though, and it takes work, and it takes the ability for you to recognize that. And when you're going through that, not start that negative self-talk of getting down on yourself or being in that broken down state, because that's where you are right now, and wherever you are, as shitty as it may sound, is where you're supposed to be. Because you can learn something from that moment. You get to learn something from that. What I learned through all my panic attacks and through all the stuff that I've been through, oh my God, that is one of the reasons I'm so passionate about what I do and what I'm able to teach, because I know what it's like to go through that stuff, and it sucks. However, I know how much stronger I am coming out of the other end of that.
Yeah.
So, and you're not alone. And that's the thing. Like when you go through stuff like that, that's what we're here for, man. Reach out, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, how do people get a hold of you if they want to learn more or talk to you or find your meditations?
Yes. So you can obviously, if you're on Facebook, my name is Morris Brossette. You can Facebook message me here. You can email me. My email is mo at Brossette Performance. I could send you that so people don't misspell it.
All right.
I have
Maybe Amy can type that in the chat box so
yes.
people can have that.
Yeah. And then I've got a YouTube channel where I'm doing, like, especially right now with people, trying to help people out with mobility, with meditations. Most meditations are on Stitcher. And yeah, I'm on Instagram as well, Brossette Performance Coaching. So any way I can help you guys, again, I coach people through this whole process. I'm working with clients right now on stress management, and it's just, I get to do this, and I'm so damn happy that this is what I've been created to do, because there's nothing else on this planet I would be doing otherwise. So if I can help anybody listening work through your fears, use your fears, work through the anxiety, work through the isolation, work through feeling stuck, man, reach out. I'm more than happy to talk to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I just want to thank you so much for being willing to be vulnerable and share. I mean, this is the first time I've ever interviewed someone, and I had a blast. I learned so much. I'd love to give a shout out to my team, Dina and Amy, who complete me. It's like my right arm and my left arm. I don't know what I'd do without both of them. And I think we're going to make this like a Friday thing. So I would love to have you back at some point, and just
Absolutely.
Please stay in touch. When you're in Austin or when I'm in Dallas, we'll have to have an actual cocktail. But for now, everybody, yes. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Cheers.
Have
Thanks,
a great day,
Mo.
guys. Bye.
Bye.